Hi there and welcome back to the studio. Today I want to bring you along the creative process of fusing two styles that I've been experimenting with for the past months. More specifically, it involves mixed media including watercolor and interior design embroidery. But before I go too far ahead, let's get the studio ready and assemble all of the materials. Here's my little pocket-sized Van Gogh watercolor set that I use almost daily. I've got a hoop of about 15 centimeter diameter and a stash of cut-out cotton fabric pieces. We will also need a tissue and a bowl of water and, of course, a candle for some extra coziness. Being creative is all about getting into the flow, so whatever allows you to get in that mode, do it. And these are notes and patterns from the creation of the interior design embroidery course that released in the beginning of 2020 on Charles & Ellen Academy. The second part of the course gives you lots of these mini patterns of objects and teaches you how you can compose your own interior design images. So I thought to use one of the sheets with nice looking chairs to add as the base of the design and practice my own teaching. To challenge myself, I decided to freehand the chair, but of course, as a student, you can use the pattern to trace, for example, using a light box or similar. And don't feel intimidated by me freehand drawing it if that's not your cup of tea. I use a Muji ink pen, and it's important that it's a pen that does not dissolve in water, or else it will just become all messy when starting to add the watercolors. And off we go. Now I can share a bit more of the source of inspiration for this improvised design. So I recently did a workshop on abstract embroidery featuring watercolor. You can see a full studio vlog about it here on the channel as well. I will link to that below. And doing that workshop sparked off just a ton of ideas. So imagine an interior design scenery that highlights an abstract art piece hanging on the wall. And not just any wall. Because the beauty of creating interior spaces with art is that you can let your imagination and interior dreams go wild. Even though we have mostly white walls in our house, what if a wall was pink? How would that look like? And P.S. in case you've never done watercolor embroidery before, I highly recommend you start checking out our free workshop on watercolor embroidery for beginners that you find on charlesandellenacademy.com. Of course, I wanted to add some nice wooden floors as well. After having filled out the pink wall and choosing color for the chair, I felt just urged to use a complementary color for the chair. For this type of spontaneous pieces, I like to just go with whatever pops in the mind first, and blue just came up, so I went for it. I know it can be very difficult, but if you try your best to put your inner critic aside and just allow yourself to try things, you will quickly see how creatively stimulating and developing that is. Thanks to watercolor, to make your embroidery design more colorful goes significantly quicker than with traditional thread painting techniques. Hence, to use that to your advantage. You can create several versions of the same scenery, but just switch out some color choices here and there and see what happens. Because you don't fully know unless you try it. And once the paint has dried up, it's time to get stitching. I use DMC embroidery floss for this embroidery, and thanks to most of the surfaces already being colored in, I can now focus on contour work and details. You might have noticed that I painted the legs earlier because I already envisioned that I would fill those out with satin stitches. And to emphasize the wooden floor, I use a single strand to do the contours of each plank. You can now also see the art piece within the art piece where golden floss made a perfect frame, and I went for graphical shapes and poppy color for the abstract piece overall. I really hope you enjoyed this process video, and don't miss to check out charlesandellenacademy.com to learn more with our full courses on watercolor embroidery and interior design embroidery.